Hello, I'm Dr. Galboy, and welcome to today's e-lesson on fourth species counterpoint, or how to write suspensions. For this lesson, you will need a copy of the handout, How to Write Fourth Species Counterpoint, available on the Carmen Classes server, and of course, a copy of your practice worksheet. Fourth species counterpoint is devoted to the study of one new dissonant figure, the suspension. Suspensions involve two things we have not yet seen before in our study of species counterpoint. Dissonance on the strong or metrically accented beat, and oblique motion across the bar line. And here the cantus firmus steps up while the added melody stays the same. Suspensions have three parts: the preparation, the suspension, and its resolution. Let's take a closer look at each of these parts. First of all, the preparation. It must be metrically unaccented, and here it falls on the weaker second beat of the measure. It must also be harmonically consonant, and here it is a perfect eighth. And any harmonic consonants can serve as your preparation. The suspension itself must be metrically accented, and here it is located on the downbeat. It must also be harmonically dissonant, and melodically it must be approached by the same note. Finally, the resolution must be metrically unaccented, falling on the weak part of the measure. It must also be harmonically consonant, and melodically the resolution is approached down by step. And another way to phrase this is that the dissonant suspension is resolved down by step. There are 4 different suspension types. An example of each is shown here. Suspensions are identified by the generic harmonic intervals created by the suspension and its resolution. In this first example, we see a ninth suspended above the cantus firmus resolving down into an eighth. This is called a 9/8 suspension. In this example, a dissonant seventh is suspended over the bar line resolving down into a sixth. This is called a 7/6 suspension. Here, a dissonant fourth is suspended over the bar line and resolves down into a minor third. This is called a 4/3 suspension. If you are writing below the cantus firmus, there is only one suspension type possible, the 2/3 suspension, where the suspended note creates a second with the cantus firmus and it steps down into a third. Here's how to write suspensions. Before you begin, plan out where the 3 parts of the suspension will go, keeping in mind that the suspended note is going to be on the accented part of the measure, and the preparation and the resolution are both going to be unaccented. Step 1 is to write the suspension, and if you are writing suspensions above the cantus firmus, you only have 3 choices. You have a dissonant ninth, which is what I've chosen to write here, a seventh, or a fourth. If you are writing below the cantus firmus, there is only one type possible, and that is to write a second. Step 2 is go back and write the preparation. The preparation must be the same note as the suspension. It also must create a harmonic consonance with the cantus firmus. And step 3 is to write the resolution. You must step down into the resolution from the suspended note, or resolve the suspended note down by step. And the resolution must be harmonically consonant with the cantus firmus. And here we have a perfect eighth. Watch out. Do not prepare the 9/8 suspension with a perfect eighth. Even though we've been allowing parallel eighths on successive weak beats, here, because the suspension sustains that same note over the bar line, the impression of parallels is a little bit stronger. Here's what this sounds like. Now let's turn to your practice worksheet. Turn to the section where you choose which suspension to write above this 2-note cantus firmus fragment. Let's begin by mapping out where exactly the suspension should go. Pause the video now and determine the correct beat to place the dissonant suspended note. The suspension should go on the accented part of the measure. Next, sketch in the possibilities for your dissonant suspension figures on that downbeat. And because we're writing above the cantus firmus, our possibilities include a dissonant fourth, a seventh, or a ninth. Pause the video and locate those three dissonant intervals above the cantus firmus. The note in my cantus firmus is C, and so I have an F, a B, and a D. Next, go back a step and write the preparation. Remember that the preparation must be the same note as the suspension, but it also must be consonant with the cantus firmus, and here the cantus firmus note is A. If I wanted to write a 9/8 suspension above this cantus firmus, my suspended note would be D, but a D over here does not create a consonance with my A. A to D is a perfect fourth, so I have to eliminate that from my choices. If I wanted to write a 7/6 suspension, my suspended note would be a B, but the B as a preparation is a second with my cantus firmus, which is dissonant, and so I have to eliminate this B as well. The F is the only note that works as both a preparation and a suspension. It is consonant with the A cantus firmus, and it is dissonant with the C cantus firmus note. Finally, resolve that suspension down by step. Pause the video now. I resolved this dissonant F down to a consonant E, a major third above the cantus firmus. Finally, label your suspended figure and circle the dissonant note. The only thing that remains for us to do is to fill in the consonants on this downbeat. Because we don't know whether or not we're dealing with a suspension from the previous measure, we must write a consonance here, and it can be anything. My cantus firmus note is A, and so I'm going to choose to write a C against that cantus firmus, which means that I am leaping up into the consonant preparation, and then I'm allowing the resolution of the suspension to fill in that leap of a fourth. Now let's practice writing suspensions below. Pause the video now and locate where that suspension is going to go. Your plan should look like this. Next, remember that if you are writing below the cantus firmus, there's only one possible suspension, the 2/3 suspension. Pause the video and sketch the entire figure, preparation, suspension, and resolution following the steps you have just learned. Your answer should look like this. Finally, circle your dissonant suspended note, and then write any consonants that works in good counterpoint to fill in the rest of this measure. Here, I think I'm going to write a sixth on the downbeat. Once again, I've leapt into my preparation, but I've allowed the resolution of the suspension to fill that in. You don't necessarily need to leap into your preparation, but it just so happens that doing so allows me to put an imperfect interval on the strong beat. Please complete the rest of the exercises on the practice worksheet on your own. This has been yet another e-lesson brought to you by the OSU Music Theory team. I'm Dr. Galboy, reminding you to prepare your suspensions by the same note and resolve them down by step.